3 minutes.
I appreciate that. We have a break schedule, but we just had one, but I don't have audit here. You don't have you're not ready. Dick Beard, are you ready? Could you go on facilities?
I could go if we've got the committee here.
Do we have a quorum of facilities?
Governor Temple. Governor
Temple's
Beard,
here.
Governor Carter.
here.
Governor Caruncho.
Carter's here.
Governor Perez.
Perez is here.
Governor Stavros and Governor Yost. So we're just short Governor Perez, right?
I'd like to keep moving if we can. We got to
See if I can find it.
go.
Well, I'd like to call the Facilities Committee to order. The first thing we need to do is, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting at UNF?
I'll move the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. The Director of Facilities is here, Chris. I'd like you to take us through the 3 bond resolutions which have been requested, and if you wouldn't mind, take them one at a time, and then we'll have a vote after your presentation, and then we'll go to the last 2 items on the menu on our agenda after that.
Okay. Thank you, Governor Beard. I'll be glad to do that, members of the committee. The first item up is a resolution for issuance of debt by the Florida Atlantic University Financing Corporation. This is to finance the construction of a new student resident facility. Before I move forward, I'd like to let the committee know there is a revised resolution and a revised project summary in your package. It's a hard copy. I'll just briefly explain that and then go into the project itself. Well, maybe I should explain the project itself. But first of all, these are very technical changes. It's only a change in Clause 3 of the resolution. Then that moves forward to the project summary. And I'll explain the nature of the change, but let me first describe the project. What Florida Atlantic University is looking to do is to construct a new residence hall. The primary focus is going to be on undergraduates, particularly freshmen, the freshman population. The committee may recall that it authorized the construction of Innovation Village 1 in 2010. That was primarily directed more towards the upper level students. And some of you may have had the chance to see that when we had our meeting at Florida Atlantic University. It's immediately across the street from the football stadium. In doing that, FAU originally contemplated continuing to build another dorm, Innovation Village 2, across the other side of from the football stadium. But with their new change in strategic plan and direction and looking to really grow their undergraduate enrollment population, instead of building Innovation Village 2, this is a more traditional undergraduate residence hall. So that has necessitated some changes, and I'll just describe the basic character of the project. First of all, FAU has an existing series of housing, traditionally financed through traditional state Division of Bond Finance bonds. That continues to exist, continues to be self-supporting. In 2010, they built Innovation Village 1 under a new finance corp model, and the board approved that. So at that point, it was designed, Innovation Village 1 is self-supporting, and the existing housing is self-supporting. However, to enhance the credit, they said any excess revenues from the existing housing could flow to the Innovation Village project. What is happening now is this next dorm will be a 3rd series, purely for the technical reason that when they put forth Innovation Village 1, they put a standard clause that said it has to have 1 year of financial performance. The project opened in the fall. We're not quite done with fiscal year 1. For the university to move forward with its aggressive growth strategy, it needs to have that new dorm open by fall 2013, hence the need to have this approved by the board today. So in order to comply with the language of the original bond covenants, they have to do this as a new subordinate series. And that will be this new project, this undergraduate residence hall. So again, the same similar structure. Existing housing, any excess revenues flow to the second project, the 2010 project. Any excess revenues from the 2010 project can now flow to the new project. It's not an uncommon structure, but it's definitely different for the state university system. All that to say, that's why in the clause, we have done our best to legally describe that in your original materials. After talking to counsel, it became necessary to tweak the language, how we described the claim. I had described it as a third lien. It's a subordinated claim. It's to me, it's a technical change. I think counsel would agree. That's the project. The demand is there. There's a letter from Governor Temple, who talked to FAU, examined the need for the project. I believe it's a good project. I hate to be overly complicated. That's just the nature where we find ourselves, because the university made a change in what it thought it was going to do from 2 years ago. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Are there any questions? I'd like to call on Vice Chairman Temple. You went and saw it, and you've kind of delved into it pretty
I went
detailed.
through the campus, I wrote a letter, I think it's
I saw the letter, yeah.
self-explanatory, and I think I agree with them, the time's right. Construction costs are kind of at the bottom. Financing costs are also at the bottom. I think they're going to go up. So, and the demand is clearly there. So, and it's a no-brainer site, as I call it. It's right there, right at a good location on campus, and all the infrastructure's in. So, you want a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The second bond, Chris, go ahead.
Yes, I'll see if I can be a little crisper on this one. This is a resolution of the board requesting Division of Finance issued bonds for the University of Florida to expand its existing J. Wainwright's Student Union on its main campus. The staff have examined the transaction. It's in compliance with the board's debt guidance policy. It's in accordance with statute. The University of Florida did get a statutory exemption. They're using an existing fee. They're not increasing the fee, but they're pledging a larger amount than is allowed in 1062. The legislature made an exception to that policy, and other than that exception, which has been granted in law, this is a good financial transaction, and it's in accordance with our board policy.
Are there any questions?
I'll move it, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chris, the last motion.
Okay, the last item up for our bond resolution section of the agenda is on behalf of Florida State University, is to allow the Florida State University Financial Assistance, Inc., which is a subcomponent of the university boosters, to finance construction of a multi-purpose indoor athletic facility and related improvements on its main campus. The project will be financed with $15.6 million of tax-exempt bonds. The university has pledged a variety of revenues, existing revenues, conference, facility suite rentals, some athletic department rent, license and trademark revenues, and net ticket revenues. And so again, no student fees are being pledged towards the construction of this project. It is in accordance with the board's debt management guidelines and policy, and I believe the university has looked carefully at the financing. I know particularly in the write-up, there was a discussion of the pros and cons of a 20-year structure versus a 30-year structure. The university felt that in the final analysis, the 30-year structure provided net present value savings today versus long-term, future savings, and that made the project, the most feasible choice for the university. That's the project. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Are there any questions?
Move the project.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Chris, would you give us the summary of the FSU modification to the facility in Tallahassee, please?
Yes, in Tallahassee, the item is an amendment of an agreement between the City of Tallahassee, Leon County, Florida State University, and the Board of Governors. And this relates to the Tallahassee-Leon County Civic Center, which is, of course, located in Tallahassee. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. the Board of Governors the Board of Regents was a primary party to the original construction of the Sixth Civic Center, providing the bulk of the funding through legislative appropriations, and in fact was a party to the agreement under which the Civic Center Authority operates. The amendments, the Board of Governors has succeeded the Board of Regents in that role. In brief, the city and the county no longer wish to be involved in the direct, oversight management of the Civic Center and the, liability, and that the Civic Center has lost some funding. However, the Civic Center is vital to Florida State University. It's the only venue of that size in Tallahassee. The university has nowhere else it could even reasonably construct close to campus, anything like it. So the proposal, as part of a long-range change, is to transfer ownership of the Civic Center to the university. The university will assume operations of the Civic Center. At some future point, the legislature will be asked to dissolve the Civic Center Authority, create a different structure, but formally, endorse the transfer of the ownership. In this year's budget, FSU was given authority by the legislature to begin this process of acquisition. There is some minor debt associated with this as well, some total of $4.1 million. The Civic Center Authority has never had any trouble with paying debt service. The numbers are there. That's a minor component of the project. But for the record, the board has to agree to release the City of Tallahassee, Leon County as partners of the agreement under which the Civic Center operates. I'd be glad to take any questions. I work very closely with Vicki Shirley, our General Counsel, as this is an unusual transaction, and either one of us would be glad to take any questions.
Are there any questions?
I'll move the approval of this transaction.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to recognize President Judy Bentz. I know the President has been spending an awful lot of time on the Facilities Task Force, as I've said in the past, and as this board has said in the past, that we do have a crisis in funding. If this system wants to grow, we've got to find an answer, and I know that Judy and her members of the committee are spending an inordinate amount of time looking at this issue, and we've got great experts on that committee. I mean, people that really understand the game, and she's working very hard on making sure that the committee comes up with things that we really can do and not pie in the sky kind of thing. So with that, Judy, would you give this board an update on where we are with our task force?
I'll be happy to, Governor Baird. Thank you very much. Just as background information, the Board of Governors in the March meeting established the task force on facilities and an advisory panel. Governor Beard appointed at least one person from each state university, as well as a group of advisors. We did that in April. I will say that one of the most important, this is the most different and probably the most functional of any task force that I've ever been a part of. And the reason is primarily, while the 11 universities are well represented, their chief financial officers or their budget officers, their facilities people, we're still from the universities. Because everyone in the state that's concerned with university facilities is interested in solving this problem, a lot of people, very important people, have come forward and want to help. And that's how this advisory panel began. And we have in the room with us the lead people, experts in the state on financing, on banking, on construction, on architecture, and they are even in law, and they are helping us, guiding us on finding solutions. They're serving at no cost. They show up. They are active. They want to help, and they are a great help to us. So you really have a public-private sector combination on the facilities task force. Another thing that we've done is we've met twice face-to-face. We met Wednesday morning here in Orlando, but we've divided up into work groups, and the work groups have also had several conference calls. They are, what we really have, we have 8 charges that we were given, and we're working on them, and that's how the work, basically what are the charges include what are the options to PICO, what have other states done when they've run out of the equivalent of PICO funds, and many states have, how do they continue to have facilities, maintain the ones they have, and how also can we provide financial flexibility in the world of facilities, and most importantly, how much funding is needed in facilities to meet the Board of Governors 2025 strategic plan goals. I'm encouraged by this task force. Wednesday, we came up with some concepts, some solutions, concepts of solutions, and we have a variety of options. Basically, public-private partnerships is getting a lot of attention. If the state is running out of money, I assure you that the private sector has not. The private sector has money to invest, and we are good investments for the private sector. We haven't used public-private partnerships too much in our university buildings, especially our academic buildings, but we're exploring that. One of where we are now is that the concepts are putting pen to paper. We could not do this without Chris Kinsley, and he is writing up the drafts of our concepts. And flexibility, the different kinds of language that we need changed in statutes or in regulations, the kind of flexibility the universities need in the money that we have. Because basically what we have are rules and regulations that were developed 15 years ago when we were 70 to 80% supported by state dollars. We're not anymore, and that funding is dropping. So what kind of shifts do we need in the rules and regulations to catch up with where we are financially in the world of universities? Another thing that I've been very important, we've been very important to do is once these concepts are put down on paper in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to run them by, we are going to run them by the legislative leadership. We're going to run them by the governor's staff. We're going to run them by the Higher Education Task Force, headed up by Dale Brill, to make sure we're all on the same page. I have no intention of, we have no intention of bringing forward to you, Governor Beard, or you, the governors, something that will be dead on arrival in the legislature or is in conflict with anything else. We have 5 or 6 concepts that we're putting together. Maybe 1 or 2 will be acceptable, but that's what we're going to move forward. We may think an idea is very good, but if our solution is very good, but if the legislative leadership says, forget it, I'm going to forget it. You know, its time is not come. On the other hand, there are going to be some solutions that will take 2 or 3 years in the legislative and the policy process, and we'll begin to work on them. We're going to those that are still alive after the dead on arrival ones are weaned out. Then we're going to prioritize them in short term. For example, we have a crisis right now. We are out of money. Our buildings need maintenance, and we need buildings that need paint, roofs that need to be fixed, sidewalks that need to be repaired. There are safety issues. We're all sitting here with those issues right in our face. And so we're, for example, a short-term, there could be a short-term fix. Some tax dollars that are already being collected could be sent to PICO or to facilities for maybe 6 years and put a sunset on it. There may be longer-term solutions. So we're looking at all of them from all different angles. So we're not going to bring you something that's dead on arrival. They're all going to be vetted. We're going to bring you the ones that have a pulse and the ones that help us with short-term and long-term. Our deadline for the final report to you and the board is in November, and also the Blue Ribbon Task Force has asked for our final work product, well, we're going to give them our not final work product. We're going to be in contact as time goes along to see how they feel about it, because their overarching umbrella also includes facilities. So at the end of the day, sir, I'm very hopeful that we're going to come up with some good ideas. You've got the smartest people in the state with their minds together, knowing we have a crisis, coming up with solutions that are practical.
Well, that's great. Well, I know you're doing a great job, and I'm appreciative of all the people that are willing to serve on this committee, because it's so important. And it's pretty clear that the state and the legislature and everybody seems to understand that there is a crisis in this area, and that we need to come together with some kind of solution. So
right, and I think the most comforting thing is that we're not the first state to go through this. Many states have gone through it, and they have successful models that have alternatives to the former PICO process. We're not alone.
We're not alone, and that's exactly right. Well, thank you, President Bentz, for your hard work, and Mr. Chairman, does anybody have any other questions, or are there any issues at all? If not, this committee is adjourned.
Great, thank you.